Hello everyone. Hey Kasun, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Doing good, thank you. Actually, it's great that we took some time to organize this great session for the Azure Spring
Yeah,
Clean. And this is actually not the first time, meaning that it's a conceptual appearance that organizer of this Azure Spring Clean has every year, and we are very glad to be on this, event with you. This time we are doing, I think, the first time we are doing like a demo, duo, so to speak, of
yeah,
speakers. Try to make it more conversational, and I want to say big thank you for the organizers of Azure Spring Clean 2024, especially Thomas, who organized it and accepted our session. And I hope that all these viewers who are going to watch our session, they would get some new information about unit about testing in Azure Bicep, how it can help you, and why you need to spend some more time to learn about it, because there's a lot of important things that will come with that.
yeah.
So, any words from you for organizer or for our organizers or viewers?
Yeah, so I also want to thank organizers for approving our session. So uh, I think it's a very important topic we are going to talk today, how we going to use testing in Bicep code. So when you are doing deployments and through infrastructure as a code, it is
Hmm.
very important thing to integrate in CI/CD pipeline, no? Your
Yes.
infrastructure as code deployment.
Definitely. So Kasun give a little bit hint here before our second slide, which is all about, pumping our muscles in Azure Bicep, making sure that whatever we define as infrastructure, it is actually codified, right? So it's easy to version control, make changes. But in addition to that, we want to make sure that we can introduce some testing process into that, so that even before the deployment or whenever your project grows and you have more than few developers there, you have to, and you want to maintain modules, you have this confidence that each time you add something to your bicep code, to your infrastructure as a code, it's not going to break anything, right? So you have some type of testing mechanism even before deploying that into the Azure environments. Without any overdue, now I want to go into the introduction. So let's start with Kasun here. Hey, Kasun, I know that you have been a long time part of this community. So what do you want to tell about us? Tell about you
Uh,
to the audience here. Yeah.
yeah, so my name is Kasul. So I'm Microsoft MVP for Azure. So I'm originally from Sri Lanka. At the moment, I'm living in Rotterdam, in Netherlands. So I have more than 8 years of experience in working with Microsoft Azure. Then I have certification from Azure, then Kubernetes and Terraform and those kind of tools. So then I'm very interested in any cloud technologies and cloud native technologies. So I'm more into DevOps practices and implementing automations around it. So you can find me in LinkedIn in this URL, and you can find my blog kasunrajapaksha.me. So I share my experience and new features. I test new features and write about in the blog. So apart from my work and technical stuff, I like to travel at my free time, then listen to music from 80s, 70s, and 90s, and watch TV series and play games as well.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
playing
that's
games,
about it.
that's important. So what do you use? Do you use Xbox or you are more of a Sony PlayStation person?
I'm Xbox. I have Xbox now because
Okay,
I
all
had a
right.
PlayStation before,
Okay.
but this time I want
Now
to
you switch
buy
the
an
gears to
Xbox.
Xbox. All right.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah, we also have an Xbox at home, kids, and sometimes I also join the kids to play. Great. That's awesome. Yeah. All right. So we have gamers here as well. So my name is Elhan. Probably some of you already know about that. I'm also Microsoft MVP and MCT. And I'm also Microsoft certified regional lead. No, Microsoft MCT regional lead for the US. So if you are also doing some training and you need some guidance uh, in terms of the MCT material or courses, you can always reach out to me. You know, I would be glad to help you in that. But other than that, I have been in the community for some time, and uh, I'm also founder of the Cloud Marathoner blog post and as well as movement on social media that you may see that I'm tweeting about, or now you can say Xing about. So there's a change. So, and usually I'm covering the cloud and Microsoft Azure journey roadmap and steps to focus toward the building automation, and namely, infrastructure as a code is the primary part of it. You can also check my blog, which is mentioned there, thecloudmarathoner.com, where I encourage everyone to share useful tips and bits in their unique cloud journey and help the beginners also to succeed. I'm active member of Cloud Lunch and Learn. Probably you saw me there as well. Sometimes moderating, sometimes speaking about, mostly Azure automation. And if you have any good presentation or you want to get start speaking, reach out to me. I will try to make sure that you can start that journey as well. So the links and everything is there. I also have the LinkedIn posts and the profile, so you are more than welcome to check there. And I think it's enough about myself. And if you are watching this session on YouTube, and you want to say hello or put some comments there, you are more than welcome to do that. All right. Do you want to go and introduce our agenda today, Kasun? Anything that you have in
Yeah,
mind?
nothing special. Let's get into the uh,
Let's get into the
most
weeds, right?
important, yeah,
What the
most
people are going
important
to
part
learn
of it.
today. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, let's do that. So let's see what we will cover today and what you will learn from our session. So first, I will start with why you need the testing in your infrastructure as a code, and then we'll cover certain, need and drive that we need to spend some time and learn about that. Next, we will look into some essential types of testing in infrastructure as a code because you would see that it's not just all about unit testing. There are some other things that you can also do. And then we'll look into some testing tools. We'll, introduce those testing tools that you can start introducing into your day-to-day development, right, so to speak, of your infrastructure as a code and automation. It and mostly it's going to be the Microsoft Azure environment where you can easily use those tools. Then, of course, it's not just about talking the tools. You want to also learn by doing, at least start understand the basics of it so that you have some roadmap, how to upskill yourself in that. So that's where we'll get these 3 demos that you would see as part of this session. And then in addition to that, we want to share some references. We want to help you to get up to speed with some video references, maybe with some book or any other things that can help you to get a solid understanding of testing in infrastructure as a code, and that's how we will conclude our session. Is there anything else, maybe, Kasun, you have in mind that you want to mention for our audience today?
Uh, Nothing special. So, but we are very excited for our book release. So we'll talk about at the end of the session. So you can know how we can what are we are going to write on that bicep book. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good mention. Myself and Kasun, we are writing a book for Azure Bicep. It's basically how to get started and use the automation there. And we go beyond basics there. There are some concepts that you would want to have if you are doing some real enterprise level infrastructure as a code development for your company or organization or your customer. So yeah, we will share the link there. We'll let you know what to expect in that book. And this is a work in progress. So I hope you can come and check that in the link that we will share later in the session. Awesome. So let's move here. So let's first start with the first topic, why we need testing in infrastructure as a code, right? And as you know, the infrastructure as a code itself, or IAC, is a specification of required infrastructure. that you want to represent as a code. For example, if you have a virtual machine, a storage, or a networking, it makes sense to codify that so that you know the configurations and all the parameters that you set up. They would deploy the same way each time you have to recreate the environment, or you need to make another copy environment for your customers. And in a nutshell, what it does, it's basically enables you give you a high degree of automation and versioning, making your infrastructure development, akin to application development, meaning that you want to bring those, solid application development practices into your infrastructure as a code development so that you can reuse your skills if you are coming from software development background. Another thing that I think is important is that to understand, do you really need infrastructure as a code testing, and how it could be done. So as you know, like in modern infrastructure as a code tools like Terraform, Pulumi, or Azure Bicep in our case, you have some built-in check-ins and detailed error messages when you are trying to develop there, but they still lack some framework for unit testing. And whenever you are trying to, understand, do you even need the infrastructure as a code testing? You need to understand that if you are dealing with a complex project, usually adding these testing tools will simplify your life. For example, if you have a number of big components in your project, like different type of VMs, managed services, load balancers, and other uh, infrastructure resources, then having testing will really give you a peace of mind whenever you are making change, uh, so that you know that it's not going to break everything. The next thing that you want to have this, again, some type of testing, is when you are dealing with a number of different environments. Like it can be dev, staging, there are some UAT and other environments between your development and production, kind of pipeline. So for each environment, there might be different ways that you want to infuse your testing, so that get the confidence in your future deployments, and as well as number of rollouts. So if you have frequent and fast-paced development of new infrastructure as a code, and your customer demands more frequent deployments, at that point, having this frequent deployment also necessitates to have some type of testing, so that each time when you have new changes, you can test them to make sure that they are not going to break anything that has been there for a while, right? And then essentially you may also ask, okay, what is the value or use case for infrastructure as a code testing? And if you take into account those components that we just mentioned, like the differences in environment, differences in the release and rollout of your new code into the cloud environment, and as well as a complexity of components of your solution, that would definitely necessitate a testing practice to be built in order to be successful. And again, that testing practice is a combination of the different components of your project, different environments that you may have in the project, and different way of cadence or rollouts of the updates into those environments. So if you have that, again, process in place, that you can test your change to make sure that whatever you add, whatever you update, is actually not breaking the previous code and previous setup, then you get the agility, right? You really become an agile development team where you can succeed with higher velocity, meaning that you can make the customers more happy with frequent updates, and you also have safe updates in place, meaning that you have this assurance that you are not breaking anything with your new change. Anything else, maybe Kasun, you have in mind that you want to add into this? Are you on a mute?
Sorry.
No problem.
So, yeah.
Yes.
So I think when you talk about infrastructure as a code tool testing, so it will be a very helpful for organization or a team to identify the uh, failures very early stages
Mm-hmm.
in their development cycle. Because if you are not doing testing early stages, and you are when you deploy to the production environment and it fails, then there may be consequences, or you have to be there are a lot of work to be done, right? So by using these kind of testing frameworks, you can easily identify before it happened, and you can take necessary action to mitigate those things. So that's one of the main benefit of using testing in infrastructure as code as well.
Yeah, great. And that's basically a come back to the DevOps, right, practice, which is fail
Yeah,
fast
yeah,
in order to be able to, find
yeah.
issues in the lower environments before you move forward. Yeah, that's also part of that necessitates having the testing for your infrastructure code. Great. Yeah, that's a good point. And let's look at, what are the essential types of testing in infrastructure as a code. And as these are the things that actually come from some of the software development practices. And mainly, even though you see there might be unit testing, integration testing, you can have system testings, kind of UAT testing. You can have different type of testings. But when you look at the essential part of it, you want to have at least one static and local analysis of your codes or checks of your infrastructure as a code to make sure that your code is analyzing the configurations and dependencies before execution, before deployment. And detecting those static errors are also very important, and we will talk about a tool that can help you in that. Then of course we also have these some type of apply and destroy tests that maybe you are familiar with, where you can validate infrastructure change by applying and basically recreating those cloud resources. In that way, it's became idempotent, meaning that whenever you have to remove the current environment or deploy a copy of the current environment again into the same set of in cloud environment, then you can easily do that. But of course, when you do this practice, you also need to be aware that you can easily go and remove the things from production, right? You don't want to make sure that you mess up with data storage service and stuff like that. So you have to take this with a grain of salt. But the idea here is that if your infrastructure goes down and you have to spin up another one, then this practice will help you. And another thing that another part of is, in addition to what you see on the on the diagram on the right side or picture, we also need to have some type of simulation test, or we can also call it imitation test, where you can simulate the Azure or cloud resource creation without actual provisioning them, meaning that you have these checks on the environment. You have these checks before deployment of your resources in your code, and there are ways how Azure Bicep actually provides it. You can also run that with PowerShell on like ARM templates, but that pre-check of the environment where you're deploying, making sure that your deployment is okay, it looks solid, there would be no failures. That's another part of this, imitation testing strategy. Is there anything? Is there some other stuff maybe, Kasun, you want to mention for this part?
Uh, yeah, some there's like we can use different policies, for
Mm-hmm.
example. So different organization use different policies for governance. So
Mm-hmm.
we can test that policies against infrastructure as a code as well, because um, we can test whether your infrastructure is compliant with those policies before we can deploy it to the actual environment.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
can get idea how it's going to.
Mm-hmm. And just to give an example on what Kasun just mentioned, think about like Azure governance guardrails, right? For example, you have approval from your customer only to deploy your resources to the West US or Western, West European region. At that point, you want to make sure you have also Azure policies in place within your subscription or management group where they would, guard uh, and, deny any deployment that goes to different regions where you don't have approval to deploy your resource. This is the easiest one, probably the most common one that you can apply, but there are a number of other, guardrails and Azure policies that you can use, which is more of a governance of your and guardrails on your, environment, Azure environment or any other cloud environment, where you have some checks and audits, and as well as prevention from if something goes wrong, it's validated. Another part of it is also security, right? So, for example, you may want to have some monitoring has to be built into your any infrastructure as any IaaS type of resources. As an example, if you, for example, you may initiate a policy saying that if you have a virtual machine deployed into environment, in that environment you need to have Azure Analytics log created, so that logging and alerting is set up on that VM. And if it is not part of the resources how your VM is deployed, then you want to deny that deployment, right? So those are very important topics to consider. Anything else maybe Kasun you have in mind to add to this, or we want to switch to the next slide?
Let's switch to the
Let's
next
go.
one. Right?
All right, let's do that. So, okay, we talked about that, but how to pick up your testing tools, right? That's another thing. And this diagram, we see that there is some type of Herculean, very strong man coming from Microsoft background and, with the tooling there. So let's look at that. So one of them is actually Chekhov static code analysis for infrastructure as a code for scanning. That's the tool that can, bring a lot of good and valuable information for you. Anything else, maybe Kasun, you want to add into that?
Yeah, so Chekhov is an open source static code analytics tool. So it is not specifically built for Bicep. Initially, it is developed for Terraform, but now it's supported Bicep as well. So in Chekhov, you have different type of rules available for Azure, AWS, and other cloud as well. So if you're deploying Azure Bicep, there are specific rules mentioned already um, built into the checkout tool. So it will go through your code and identify whether these rules are compliant with your code, with your deployment, with the infrastructure as a code, Bicep to code. Then if it is not compliant, it will give you a report. So these are the checks that are failed, and these are the checks that are passed. So then you can decide whether we are going to bypass, or is there any reasonable reason to
Mm-hmm.
bypass one of these policy checks, or are we going to fix that? Uh, uh,
Okay.
the best practices checks. Yeah.
Yes. So this Azure Bicep, I want to bring the another tool that's coming part of the Azure Bicep experimental deployments. That's the unit testing framework that Azure Bicep team is developing, and with that, you can get this familiar environment where you can set up your checks against certain configurations in your code that you can you know test and have these additional unit testing files to verify that everything is defined up to the standard, and you can do that. So is there anything else that Kasun you want to add?
Yeah, so Azure Bicep testing framework, it is still in a very early stage. So it's very experimental stage. So they don't have a lot of new uh, improvements yet. But I think in future we can see new features added and new improvements added in the Azure Bicep testing framework.
Yes.
But at the moment, it is not recommended for using for any production testing deployments.
Yes, that's good to mention. That's why we call it experimental. So this is still in development, so take it with a grain of salt. But this is something that's has a big promise here, and you may start learning it, gradually. Yeah, that's all cool. And finally, testing with PS rules. That's another tool that you'll also see that in the demo. Do you want to add anything about that, Kasun? Because I believe you prepare that demo and there's something
Yeah.
that you are going to present. But the main benefit there, where do you see the main benefit of PS rule?
Yeah, so PS rule is actually a common uh, frame of set of rules that are
Mm-hmm.
developed by Microsoft and other open source people,
Yeah.
other developers, right? So it is a way of like a test and validation of your infrastructure as a code based on that specific PS rule. So for example, if you are deploying a resource, then there's a PS rule to check whether the resource has a description section, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you
Yeah.
are using a secret value, that means sensitive value, then it should mention as secure likewise. So these are very common validations that are built based on Azure Web Architecture Framework. So we can check and validate our infrastructure with is match with these uh, validation rules, and uh, we
Mm-hmm.
can test it against it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So you now, without any more ado, I want to now go to the demo section, and in our demo section, you will see basically three demos. So we'll have a demo on unit testing with Bicep code, which is experimental feature that you just heard about, and I hope you are excited to see the demo. Then we'll look into PowerShell PS rules and their integrations, and finally, you will look into the static code analysis with Chekhov. So let's go to the demo number one, which is the unit testing with Bicep code. So let's give back to you, Kasun, so you can share your screen and start testing from here, okay?
Yeah.
Let me make sure I stop the recording and we can, kind of stop recording. Okay.
Okay, so first we'll do let first we'll take a look at our first demo, which we will discuss about Bicep test framework, which is experimental at the moment. So in this test framework, we are going to see to implement unit testing into Bicep code and see how the test framework is working. So let's jump into the VS Code and we'll test this one in action. Okay, so now we have a very simple Bicep template. So here it will provision a storage account, right? Very basic storage account. So we are defining our target scope, parameters, variables, and the resources. Then at the end, we are adding a special um, resource type called assets. So here we can specify which type of uh, parameters and variables that are accepted for our testing. So here you can see I will test whether the storage kind is uh, storage version 2 and the SKU is only deploying through the standard LRS. So to use this assertion, we need to enable the test framework. We can do it through the bicep config JSON. So here you can add this experimental feature configuration, and we can add test framework to true and assertion to true. Then we can use these assertions in the bicep template. Then we have our test bicep file. So you can see in this right side. So we have different uh, template files we have created, test files to check our test results. So here you have the one with pass in the test results, and there's another one which is fail. So here you can see in the past test results my kind is equal to storage v2 and standard LRS. So therefore it is matched with the assertions. But when you come to the fail test, you can see I'm using a different kind called block storage and a different SQ as standard GRS. So therefore this will be fail. So we can run this test using the bicep test command, and we need to pass the our test bicep file. So when you are running this command, it will go and evaluate these different test cases. So here you can see in the output the evaluation pass test is passed. That means I have a test called pass test. So that is passed because it will match the assertions of checks that we mentioned in the assertion. But the second test result is failed. So you can see assertion kind is fail and assertion SQ is fail, because these two parameters are not matched with the assertions I was intended to use. So therefore this one failed test results will be failed. So that's all for testing the bicep for the moment, because it is it is still an experimental feature and it doesn't develop a lot in the past few months. So this is what we can have it for the now. Now we will take a look at our second demo, which will use PS rules to test the bicep templates. Okay, now let's take a look at demo 2. So here we are going to use PS rules for validating our bicep templates. So for this one, I will use the Azure DevOps pipeline. So there's a very good example provided by another MVP, Tayo. So I will refer his blog post and we will see how we can use PS rule for validating bicep templates. So I will open the blog post here. So you can find this blog post on our link, right? blog.io.org. So here he use a bicep code with PS rule in Azure pipeline. So it will install the required PS rule modules into your pipeline runner. Then it will build the bicep templates into the ARM template, and it will check with PS rules, then publish the PS rule results as a test results. And finally it will check the what if results against the bicep templates as well. And all the validations are done here. So you can find the similar kind of test results. So I have implemented this in one of my pipelines. So I will show you the results. So here you can see the similar pipeline, right? So here I have a PS rules folder in this PS rule folder, I will mention which PS rules I need to validate against these templates. Then under the bicep template, I will have my bicep template config file, then parameter file, and the main bicep file. In the pipeline section, I have my main pipeline, that is uh, pipeline that is running on Azure DevOps. Then I have another pipeline template running all of these validations against the PS rules. So here you can see I have a stage. So in this stage, I will pass the required parameters for the template. So now we'll see a example pipeline that's successfully completed. So here we have two jobs. One is for validation and one is for the publishing. So here you can see it will install the PS rule module. Then it'll link the bicep template and the validations will be running against bicep. And you can see I don't have any failed rules, so that is that this template is passed against the bicep PS rules. Then the result will be published into the pipeline as a test result. So you can see these test results here. So if you select the past test results, you can see all the test results that are passed. Okay. So then I will show you another example that fails this PS rules. So this is example for that. So if I go to the template and if I go to the rule, you can see this is a failing test results, right, against the PS rules. So if you go to the tests, you can see these are the reasons, these are the PS rules that are not validated against your bicep template. So you can take a look at of these each failure results. Then you can refer this on online and the PS rules GitHub page. Then you can see what are the configurations or changes you need to do to make it compliant with the PS rule. Yeah, so that's all for this example, this demo, which we use PS rules for bicep validation. So I will show you the demo 3, which we will use static code analysis tool checkout to check validate your bicep templates against the best practices. Okay, so in the next demo, that is demo 3, static code analysis with checkout, we will see how we can use checkout open source static code analysis tool for our bicep templates. So checkout is an open source tool initially built for Terraform, but now it is supporting bicep templates as well. So it has different rules that will check against your bicep template. So if those rules are not met, the rules conditions are not met with your bicep template, it will give you an error. So then you can take necessary action to correct those failures as well. So now we'll see in demo how we can use checkout tool. So for this one also I am using a pipeline. This tool can be installed in your local machine, or you can run it as a Docker container and do the configuration as well. But for simplicity and automation, I will show you this in a pipeline, right? So I will go to my Azure DevOps pipe organization. Then I have separate project for this one. Then if I go to the repositories, you can find a very simple Bicep template, which is provisioning a app service and app service plan. So here you can find the Azure-pipeline.yaml. You can find the pipeline that that used for checkout configuration. So in this example, I'm using Docker. So in pipeline jobs, you can find the first job. It will download it will pull the Docker image to your build image, the uh, age, um, agent that the pipeline is running. Then in the second step, I will run a bash command, and I will run the docker run command, and I will mount those my working directory, present working the root of the working directory into the container bicep bridge bicep folder, right? This mount we call bind mount, that is directly accessing your local machines file system. Then it will use the image. Then I will specify the parameters for the container, the directory path, then the output as JUnit XML, so that we can publish it to the DevOps pipeline. Then you can specify the fail scenario. You can do soft fail or hard fails. Then you can save the test result into a fold specific path in your build agent. Then the last task, I will get the results that we publish into our local file system. Then I will publish that XML file into the Azure pipeline, Azure test results, right? Then we can see the results as it is, right? So what I'll do is I will run a pipeline now. It won't take much long, so therefore I will run it. So I will run the pipeline against my main branch. Then we'll wait and see what we'll get as a results. So it will start the agent. Then it will initialize and download the latest image of the checkout tool. Then next step, it will run the scan. So we'll wait a little bit. Okay, now the checkout scan is running. Then if there are any rules are not met according to your according to the checkout, then it will fail the test results, and you can see here published test results are failed. That because you can see there are one or more test failure detected in the test results. So you can go to the test page and see the summary which results are failed. So I will go back, then I will go to the test tab. Then you can see different results which are failed against your Bicep template. So for example, it is a best practice to use enable HTTPS for your service configuration to redirect all the HTTP requests. Then certificate, TLS encryption, and those kind of things are very important. So if you click this one, you can see where these configurations, which file it is affected, and it will give a error message as well, which task it's failed. So you can go and fix those things, and you can run the test results again. Yes, that's basically what is checkout. So you can find more about checkout tool in their website, so you can see what are the other options are available in the checkout.
So welcome back, everyone. And as you saw on the demo number 3, Kasun, it just kind of demo that to you. So if you have any questions and any comments, please put that into our YouTube comment section. We will check on them. But yeah, these are very good starter demos where you can get this good understanding of uh, good understanding of getting started with the testing for infrastructure as a code. Next, I want to mention 2 references, which are video references from LinkedIn Learning. You can just type there, Azure Bicep, and there are like a couple videos. So one of them is getting started with Azure Bicep, the one that you see here, and another one is, Azure Bicep Part 1 and Part 2 that you can watch to get up to speed with initial understanding and development practices of Azure Bicep. But the main part here where we want to talk about testing is the described in this upcoming book that Kasun and I am working on. And this book is basically, targeting the Azure administrators, infrastructure, architects, cloud engineers, software developers, and DevOps professionals who are looking to learn about infrastructure as a code beyond the basics and apply it to a real world scenarios that you are facing day to day. That would help you uh, to address those special training needs that you are trying to find about details in a book, so you can read and understand them. And in addition to that, you will also learn about the beginning of this book. Part 1 is going to dive into fundamentals of knowledge of Azure core services, getting started with Azure CLI, PowerShell, and setting up your Azure Bicep development environment. Of course, using the Git and using the DevOps pipelines, you will also learn how to automate them, and as well as learn about getting started with Azure Bicep unit testing. So we have 3 parts into this book. We have a quick introduction to Azure Bicep. We have part 2, which is deep dive into Bicep internals, and we have advanced concept with security. So, you will share the link again in our YouTube channel. Go ahead and check this out. Anything else, maybe, Kasun, you want to add on this book that's coming up?
Yeah, so I think this is a very informational book. So you can learn a lot from this book, as Khan mentioned. So from the basic to the advanced concepts, you can learn from these books, and we will try to add a lot of use cases and real world examples into this book.
Okay, great. Yeah. So we are excited about this. Hopefully you are also. Please check the link. It's coming. So, but before doing that, let's cover or wrap up what you saw in this session. We started with notion of why you need testing infrastructure as a code. Then we continue to speak about essential types of testing within the infrastructure as a code. And then what are the tools that you may want to look into if you are just starting to learn about this and you want to implement. Then we looked into demos. There was 3 demos that you kind of get understanding how you can apply those tools and get started. And finally, we shared what's next, meaning that what are the resources and things that you may want to continue learning. And one of them is the upcoming book with the pact on Azure automation with Bicep, and as well as the references on LinkedIn about learning. All right, that said, we have this sections question part And if you have any questions, again, put them into the chat, or you can reach out directly to me or Kasun on social media. However, in terms of resources, and again, we'll put the book link into the description of this video. These are some QCR codes that you may find useful to get started with Azure Bicep. We have different repos. One of them is awesome Azure Bicep in GitHub that you maybe heard about. So that's a good collection of Azure Bicep learning resources, and as well as, again, the Bicep project itself and other references are displayed on this QCR. So, and I want to say, thank you again to everyone for joining. I want to say thank you to my awesome colleague here, Kasun. Working on this session as a collaboration. Uh, Toward the time I'm in East US time zone, he's in the Central European, so it was a little bit of challenge, but we overcome that. And I want to say big thank you for the Azure Spring Clean organizers here, especially Thomas, who basically announced about that so we can join to this session. Kasum, back to you.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you very much for all who joined today. So I hope everyone had a good time and learned new things. So we're really excited to see you, all of you around. So another coming sessions. So we like to see your participation.
So keep up, tuned for the Azure Bicep posts
Yeah,
from Kasum and myself. So it's just the beginning. So we'll share some updates from the book and get your opinion. Maybe there's something that you want to learn more about. We are glad to hear that. And again, thank you everyone for watching this session. It's awesome to have you all. Please
yeah,
use the comments, feedbacks to reach out to us if you have any questions so we can, together help you. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for watching.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.